A lot has changed. It's a different marketplace right now. I think roughly in Huntington Beach, inventory is around 300 homes. And that's a lot more than we're used to seeing.
Learn from me, but people might not know is that like you do have a max amount that you can actually get from a seller.
Yes.
Right. So we were maxed out around 26,000.
Yeah, in costs.
Cost, and then what was this thing?
Well, the point is, everything you just shared points to what we're talking about here. Is like buyers. It's a new environment. You have leverage, so use it.
Well, work with an agent that knows how to leverage and can spot these things and do the proper inspections and, advocate on your behalf. Because if you're going straight to the selling agent, again, here's a reason you do not want to go to the selling agent. That selling agent hated me.
Welcome back, everybody. Mortgage Lounge. Jason Thibodeau here, JMJ Financial. I've got Chrissy Riley back.
Hello.
One of our best clients and friends. Hey,
thank you.
Good to have you back.
Happy to be here.
This is actually going to be our second to last podcast in the studio, by the way. We're moving offices. We're moving up in the world.
Yeah.
To the building you're very familiar with.
Yes. Bigger and better, thanks.
Yeah, bigger and better. We're going to do an even nicer podcast studio, so stay tuned for that. And I'm really excited about it. So I just at least had to mention that. We're going to talk about the market right now. We're heading towards summer, and we're exiting the spring busy season. A lot has changed. It's a different marketplace right now. I think roughly in Huntington Beach, inventory is around 300 homes. And that's a lot more than we're used to seeing.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, absolutely. I mean, just in the specific micro areas that we sell, I mean, there is... Let's say in Seacliff on the Greens, for example, 6 townhomes available right now.
And like, what's the typical or the norm that you were used to the last couple of years?
I mean, at least they go off the market pretty quickly. They get snagged up,
Right.
So now it's just they're sitting, and I'd say 1, 2, I mean maybe 3 at a time.
Yeah.
But again, the days on market was so low in there, and now these are all sitting, and they're all about the same floor plan too. They're all end units. One's like a 400 or 500 plan, and
these are nice units.
They are nice units, but they range in pricing too. So I think that can confuse a buyer too. Sometimes, like maybe one's 1.5, one's 1.8, 1.8.
So a big range in price.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to? The big range in pricing? Is that just like agents overpricing things, or is there a legitimate reason?
Well, we just sold the highest price in there, which was 1,950.
Nice work.
Thank you. And so holding that title, and I mean we've also held the second highest, which was 1,770.
And what was the highest?
1,950. And this was a tri-level townhome in Seacliff on the Greens.
I think I walked through that one, didn't I?
Yeah, Panorama. Yeah, you came to our party.
Right.
So this one was like a fully redone, beautiful ocean views, end unit with a big, large patio. So I mean, it was definitely, in my opinion, the nicest one we've seen in that community.
Yeah.
So I think people were pricing aspirationally off of that most recent comp, thinking mine looks just like that, and stating that they had ocean view, but they had like a peekaboo. And that is not the same as panoramic, right? So you cannot value it the same. So I have seen a couple of them be overpriced at first, seeing some big price reductions happening.
So days on market you mentioned, what was it traditionally beforehand, and what is it becoming today? Just out of curiosity.
I'd say it would be in like the mid-20s, kind of.
So pretty fast.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, I mean, we sold that one for 1.9 in 3 days, but... Yeah. That one was like
you guys hit
it was
a
a gem. It was a gem, you know, in there. However, we had one that was an internal unit that took, but it was also November, December, January, which you're
not the best time to sell.
Not the best time to sell, but it was this. Sometimes sellers have to sell. Like we were in a potential foreclosure situation, so we had to sell that one, and that one sold, probably over 60 days. So now we're actually looking at 60 to 70 days on the market is like normal until you enter contract.
You just said something that's key, I think. Normal.
Normal. Right?
I think a lot of people
normal.
forget, right? That this whole thing of 3 days on the market, a week on the market, 10 days on the market, which once COVID hit, that became kind of the norm, regardless of what demographics or neighborhood we're talking about.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
This concept of, oh my gosh, 60 or 70 days on the market, or dare I say it, 90 or 100 days on the market. that is a balanced market, traditionally speaking, right?
I mean, they still say, like, it doesn't make all that sense to me because it'll say seller's market, like we're still in a seller's market, and that's because of inventory.
Yeah.
Right?
Inventory,
but I don't want buyers to get discouraged because really, right now is super great for buyers.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. So, like, when you just look at what we statistically call seller's market versus a buyer's market, like, yeah, it is seller's market solely because of inventory.
Yeah.
However,
That's starting to change.
Yeah. However, buyers right now, including myself, I just bought a home too. You know, you have the ability to negotiate. The sellers are sitting on the market, so some are getting nervous. They're willing to maybe do a rate buy down.
Makes a big difference
which
too.
You can touch upon the expertise there, but I know that it makes more sense to ask the seller, correct me if I'm wrong, to pay, let's say, $15,000 towards your closing cost to buy down a rate rather than reduce the price.
Yes, I agree. Well, it's more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Right? Because a price reduction of $15,000 is at the end of the day going to reduce maybe your PIT and property tax by a marginal amount.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're buying down the interest rate or even using a temporary buy down, you're talking about multiple hundreds of dollars a month.
Yeah.
And that's where you get more bang for your buck. That's the thing but like going back to what you said earlier for buyers have been getting the short end of the stick for years now.
Yeah. I mean, people have, waived appraisal contingencies.
Financing contingencies.
Waived financing contingencies. I mean, we've gotten really smart about how we can do that to help people beat out cash offers, right? But, and there are safe ways to still do that, right?
Yeah.
But waiving or shortening your inspection contingencies.
But that's probably
we've never waived an inspection contingency, but people have.
You have to protect yourself.
Yeah, people have.
But that's what people were doing, and I feel like if this inventory growth continues, and as long as interest rates stay elevated like this, and 7% is kind of like that threshold. When we're at 7% or slightly higher, that's where we see the noticeable slowdown in the market. And this is having duration, right? The 7% doesn't just get there and come back down. It's staying at 7%, and that's where I think the demand starts to come down and inventory starts to rise.
Yeah.
Like whatever you're comfortable sharing with your purchase recently, you negotiated how big of a credit?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, if I add it all up, we had to get really creative. I think a total of around $50,000 because we had to do my maxed out closing costs. And I think this is a lesson learned for me, but people might not know, is that like you do have a max amount that you can actually get from a seller.
Yes.
Right? So we were maxed out around $26,000
in costs.
And then I had to have the seller do a price reduction for the rest, which I wasn't too happy about because, again, we just spoke upon it. It's not that big of a deal. You'd rather have the cash, right?
Yes.
Less cash to close, or obviously that savings. But at the end of the day, we had to get the money somewhere. And then I had the seller pay the termite company directly so that it wasn't like coming out of my concessions. It was like, you just pay it up front and I'll take care of it after we close. Whatever we had to do to close this thing.
Well, the point is, everything you just shared points to what we're talking about here is like buyers, it's a new environment. You have leverage, so use it.
Work with an agent that knows how to leverage and can spot these things and do the proper inspections and, advocate on your behalf. Because if you're going straight to the selling agent, again, here's a reason you do not want to go to the selling agent. That selling agent hated me.
Well,
I mean, if I went straight to the listing agent, I'm an agent myself, so it would never happen that way. But some buyers, go to the listing agent.
That's true.
And they're not going to negotiate that much money for you.
Let's talk about that. I mean, for a long time, this is a double-edged sword. So buyers were approaching listing agents because they wanted to have their offer or give their offer the best chance of getting accepted.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know how to explain this without maybe hurting people's feelings, but there's no way for a listing agent. I'm sure some do better jobs than others, but it's hard for a listing agent to have a fiduciary responsibility to both sides equally.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? And I know you and Diane are pretty big proponents of not doing the dual agency. Sometimes you probably do. It just is what it is. It's part of business. But it's tough, right?
Yeah, but there's two of us too. Yeah. So that is way easier because we will literally have all communication.
Yeah.
Dispersed, like I work with the seller, she works with the buyer, vice versa.
That's a great dynamic.
And we come together, and then there's two opinions. I mean, it just works a lot better. But like if I was on my own, it would be so tough to be truly ethical and provide that fiduciary duty to each other. So it definitely...
It's like having an attorney
hard.
represent two sides in a lawsuit. Like, how does that work?
In a divorce, I mean,
what I mean?
Like, that would not work.
It doesn't really work,
No.
so I don't understand the dual agency when it comes to real estate, but it is what it is. So the good news is when there's balance that's returning to the market, which is what we're experiencing right now, the silver lining, just to go back to this point, is buyers, you're going to get a little bit more leverage. But it also, like you said, the way I experienced you on your transaction was really impressive because you didn't just roll over and deal with the bad behavior, let's call it, from the other side. You're like, no, we're not tolerating this. And you ended up with $50,000 in concessions from them.
Well, remember, I don't know if
That's
you
a lot of
recall,
money.
we had a cancellation of contract. I mean, literally, they sent it to me. We're not agreeing to this. Additionally, it was $15,000.
Yeah.
We're not agreeing to the initial $15,000 request. Here's the cancellation of contract. I signed it, and she goes, "Whoa, wait a minute," and goes, "He'll agree."
Okay, but like understand what you just heard there. Like this is why it matters who you hire. In real estate, with the barrier to entry being so low, you're hiring your friend who's a hairstylist that has her license, and they're kind and they're gentle and they're nice. Well, kind, gentle, and nice, that's okay, but it's not going to negotiate a $50,000 contract and hold fast on signing and cancellation, playing that game of chicken in negotiations, which you have to do sometimes.
And be willing to walk away.
And be willing to walk away.
You can't marry you just really can't marry a property until the keys are in your hand.
Yeah, you are not emotionally attached, which was impressive, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people get emotionally attached. Even the realtor gets emotionally attached.
Oh, yeah. No,
and it's like, if you're emotionally attached, emotions cloud judgment,
Emotional detachment has come with experience, for sure. Because early on, early on in my career, I didn't eat. Like, I would be nauseous. I'd be nauseous until I get that
we've
offer
all been
accepted.
there.
And until contingencies are removed. And it's like, oh my gosh, I lost all this weight. Like earlier, I was like, the anxiety was so high.
Cortisol.
And now it's just like, nope, like you're in charge.
Yeah.
Like you just have, that
cool,
confidence.
calm under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is it is a very pressure heavy
it is
career.
Yeah.
People do not understand how much we do on a daily basis, and the contractual side of things, and like the legalities behind it, and like we have to protect ourselves and our clients, just like doctors have to protect themselves, and I've seen a lot of disclosure issues and things not being disclosed, and I know people in lawsuits because of it. So it's just, you have to have, if you're just hiring Uncle Joe that had his license, just to buy their own homes or whatever they did, like the contracts change every single year and a couple times a year they get updated. So if you're not an active agent like full time, you're kind of behind, behind the game.
A lot can go wrong, and not to be negative or to scare people or anything like that. It's just like, the stakes are high, and people, generally speaking, aren't used to, on a day in and day out basis, dealing with contracts that have millions of dollars changing hands. You know what I mean? So just, again, not to belabor the point, make sure you're hiring the right folks. It doesn't, I can't say this like it doesn't cost you anything, right? Because nowadays it could. Yeah. And in the past we would say it doesn't cost you anything to have a buyer's agent. Like, hire, you be protected. But I think... Oh, the buyer broker agreement is what you're referring to? Yes. Yeah. So like now we can't technically say that because it could cost you something. However... Well, let's talk about that though. Yeah, how often are you finding the buyer's agent or the buyer, when they sign that buyer broker agreement, is having to come up with money rather than the seller paying for it? 0. Right. Yeah. 0% of the time. And I think a study just came out as well about how even like agents' commissions haven't changed. Essentially nothing has changed other than paperwork, a lot more paperwork. And, I don't mind it because it does allow me to have more of a personalized buyer consultation and kind of push buyers to sit down, because we do our best job when we have the opportunity to actually sit down and ask you questions. I'm going to share something then on this, okay? I don't know if I've talked to you about this before, maybe I have, but this happened to loan officers in 2010. Okay, and it's happened to realtors in 2024 is when it happened, right? For us, 2010 was Dodd-Frank. This was just after the great financial crisis, all these sweeping rule changes for compensation for loan officers, and everyone was losing their minds, right? Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. Kind of sound familiar? Yeah. Right? So Dodd-Frank passed, and we had to have loan officers had to have set compensation that couldn't vary based upon loan terms. And guess what ended up happening? Loan officers ended up making more money after the change than they were before. Because here's what would happen: weaker salespeople who would give their loans away now were forced to make a certain set amount. So on the other end of this, was it really helping the consumer? Not really. And did it really change anything for loan officers? No, they made more money. So I don't know. There's unintended consequences to these things, and this is a different situation with realtors. But on the other hand,
I mean, honestly, we're not setting fees, right? Obviously, you can't set fees, and I'm seeing some very unethical marketing out there. Just throw that out there of people like saying, "I charge this, and hire me. I'm the 2% listing agent, or 2.5." It's like, you're literally setting your fee in your marketing, and that's exactly what you're not
supposed to do. Yeah. Red flags.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we have ranges that we're comfortable working for, but for the right house, the right client, we always negotiate.
Yeah.
Everything is always negotiable.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part about this new BRBC, the buyer broker agreement, is that it's another term in an offer. And so a lot of agents are actually going in with more commission than what they would have been offered initially on the MLS. So they'll be asking for 2.5, whereas they might have been getting 2, or in some situations. I've seen people ask for 3.
I've seen that too.
Yeah. So and some agents are like dead set. I'm asking for this, and if I don't get it, like my client's going to pay me the difference. Yeah. We do things a little differently.
Yeah. You're more about the client experience, I think.
Yeah, we've never charged a client any, like if they've signed an agreement with us, it's 2.5.
And you get 2.
And we get 2. We just do an addendum to change that 2.5 to 2. Yeah. And that's, we're not charging them extra money.
Client first, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And 2 is great, 2 is fantastic.
Right,
so 1.5 is great. But at the end of the day, it's not, in our experience thus far, and everyone we know in this area, at least in Orange County, California, the buyer has not paid a commission. I have seen a buyer pay that difference that we as a list, we weren't going to offer them 2.5, and I guess their buyers loved their agent so much.
And they paid the difference.
They paid that 0.5%.
Yeah.
And it's just paid through escrow. It's just an additional down payment. That was a cash buyer. They had cash. They had more additional funds. But that's not common with someone that's going to have a loan and to pay additional money. So I would like buyers to feel comfortable, just talk to agents and talk to your advisors and not necessarily listen to the news, because I think that's also probably stalled the market just a smidge too.
Yeah.
Along with everything else, but think maybe they have to pay their agent.
Yeah, the media's job, as they see it, is to sow chaos, confusion, and fear uncertainty, and doubt, right?
But constant.
Yeah, so be careful what outlets you're paying attention to, and understand that someone like Diane and Chrissy really have the client's best interest at heart, and you can rely upon their advice. So if you have questions, don't go to Twitter. Don't go to CNN. You know what I mean? Don't go to CNBC. Yeah. There's always an agenda there. They also don't understand the local marketplace. Yeah. And they're not realtors, okay? Let alone
realtors that do. Real estate is local because, we have our own Orange County Association of Realtors, which is like within NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, but every state has different contracts. Every state has different requirements on how to utilize this buyer-broker agreement, et cetera. So if you're from another state or you have an uncle over there or an aunt, California is different. So even down to the micro market of OC compared to NorCal. Yeah. Like Northern California does things way differently. So I have buyers that come down here and they're acting like they're up there, and they're like, where are the disclosures? Where are all these things? Like, you don't get those till we're in escrow. Exactly. Like, this is different. But up there, they kind of do everything up front, including inspections. They kind of do it right off the offer, like before they put an offer. So within the state level, things are different. So it's really good, I think, work with a local agent wherever you want to buy or sell. Yeah.
So recap, I want to switch over to sellers again, but recap for buyers. You guys have got, like we said, the short end of the stick for many years now. And the wake-up call, if you don't already know this, is inventory is growing pretty substantially. Yeah. And one thing that people misunderstand about the inventory growth is immediately people are reverting to, it's a crash. Oh, the market's going to crash. we are starting from a very low level
low.
in inventory. So with all of the inventory growth we've had, like last year, we were hovering around 1,500 to 2,000 homes in Orange County, which is nothing, okay?
Yeah, the whole Orange County.
We're at like 4,000 and change right now. And probably to have a true balanced market in Orange County, we need somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 homes. So we're still not even towards balance. It's still a seller's market. So when you hear inventory is growing, it doesn't mean, hey, wait to buy, real estate's crashing. It's not what that means. It just means that things are finally normalizing after 3 years of higher interest rate environment, and things take time. And guess what? You get more choice, and if you hire right, you get more negotiating leverage, right?
Price. I mean, we're seeing a lot of things. I'm seeing things close under asking. People are closing a lot under asking, which is nice for buyers. And you don't know. Obviously, there could have been even repairs, taken care of as well
things come up
there.
during the escrow period too, and that's where the representation matters even more so. It's not just at the beginning stage of negotiations or getting the offer accepted. It's but what happens post. Home inspection.
The majority of the work comes from like writing that offer to closing escrow, 100%. I mean, looking at homes like that, but looking for homes can take up to 2 years. I mean, we've usually once we sit down with someone and they're serious and ready to buy, we do find them their home pretty quickly. But it takes time for people to want to sit down and hone in, on what they want.
All right, we're going to switch back to sellers real quick. Things are changing like we just talked about. So, I talked to an agent the other day who had a neighbor who wants him to sell his house. And the realtor that I like a lot, he's been at it for 30 years. And he says, okay, well, what do you think it's worth? And of course, the seller responds with a number that's astronomical. The realtor that I know has a good chuckle and says, I'm not your realtor. Right. And what ends up happening is he hires one of the big producers in the area. It sits for 6 months and he fires that listing agent, hires the second competing realtor. It sits for 6 months. Right. And then it ends up in this guy's lap with a price that's realistic. So like things are changing. And it's not to say you can't get the price you're looking for. But the question is, are you setting yourself up for failure or are you being realistic? And that matters a lot. And I understand the emotional aspect of sellers wanting a certain price. I do get it. But what is your feedback as things change in this environment?
Well, I always ask the client, what is your timeline? What is your end goal? And so that's going to definitely determine how we price. Because if they, have a place to go, or maybe they have a second home, or maybe they're, going to retirement home, whatever it is, and they got all the time in the world to sit and get maybe a higher price, then maybe we'll go for, we never overprice, but that's just not, this realtor, we're not going to waste our time taking something that's just going to sit there and not sell. No. So
you're not doing anybody any favors.
No, but if it's maybe 50,000 above or something like that, we think the house is worth it, but it's just like, we got to test the market. Yeah. Sure, if they're not in a rush. But
and then, like you said, context matters with timing.
Yes, context of the client's needs. It's always about like what do they need first, and then
they might have an up leg. They're contingent. They got to sell quick, right?
Oh yeah, if we have to sell quick, like right now, I'm speaking to a seller that is moving out of state. They have a couple properties. They're like, hey, do we lease this one, sell this one? How do we do it? And like, it's all about the timing, and now with the market, with the days on market being a little bit longer, we would have to price lower because we'd be contingent. And so, thinking about all of that plays a role in how you price. And so I think for the most part, neighbors always try to be good. Like, I just listed my house, right? And I'm like, I listed it very well and compared to the comps and trying to keep the neighborhood, values high and my neighbor's happy. But at the end of the day, I have 2 mortgages right now. Yeah. So I'm, I did have to do a little bit of a price reduction as we've seen because the activity just was not there. Yeah. But with that small price reduction, I did have a busier open house and I had a private showing today. And so like, that's exciting when you start seeing and getting calls like that, then you're kind of priced in a better area. But if you're getting 0 calls for private showings and like no one in your open house, like it's not per se like I said, I priced my home exactly at fair market value at the time, but things quickly shifted in the last month due to everything going on in the world and the uncertainty. And so that has had to lower the price and we've had to, adjust to the current market trends. So it's just, you do have to be ready for adjustment. And like we always tell the client that we're going to list a home next month. Here's the price that we're talking today. They have a price in their head that they want. It is high for the comps. I do think it is the best one in the community, and we do tend to get these best ones in the community,
Yes,
and we do sell them, and we do sell them like way over asking. So I sell them like
way
it
you
is
represent
possible.
yourselves,
Thank you. But it is possible they can get this price. But I'm like, you know what? A week before we plan to actually go live, we will reevaluate that price.
And what you're doing there is called setting the appropriate expectations.
Yeah.
Right. Sugarcoating things is tough. Right. If you're planning on setting inappropriate expectations and you're sugarcoating things, that's called setting yourself up for failure.
And wasting money. I mean, like this agent that took, oh, sure, I will sell it for like $200,000 more than, you know, and they'll reduce their commission to like, I don't know, 1%, something crazy, right? And then they spend money on marketing and their time, and it's like,
it's not the way to do it.
Then they're going to lose the contract because it's going to expire. It's not going to sell.
And what it's not doing you realtors any favors reputationally when you do that.
No,
you know what I mean.
That's why we don't take. I mean, I've taken a listing and dropped it 3 days later.
This is what's so counterintuitive.
I go, no, you're not serious about selling.
Yeah, but this is what's so counterintuitive, right? Because that means you're losing a client, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, what does it do for Chris,
Open the
Diane,
door for
Chrissy?
more time and more clients.
More
that are
time,
better.
more clients, and it keeps your what? Your reputation intact.
And our numbers high.
Yeah.
So there's a thing, our list to sell ratio is like 100%, sorry, our fallout ratio is 0.
Yeah.
We've had 0 fallout, and then we've sold about 103% from list price to purchase price, or sell price.
Incredible.
Sorry. So we have to keep those numbers, and that's important because we're running a full-time business.
Yeah.
We're not just taking a listing, and we had taken a listing at one point, the one I cut 3 days later. This listing is still on the market. It's been a year.
Oh my gosh.
A year. And
it's also predictable.
They have done
so
a single
painful
open
too, though.
house, a single, showings. It's priced so high, and at the end of the day, it's hurting the entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
So because like other buyers are like, why is this home
sitting
for 365 days?
Yeah, it's interesting how you brought up the sale of your home and how mindful you are of taking care of the street and the neighborhood and the neighbors, and that's a lot of good self-awareness there, and it says a lot about your character.
Oh well, thank you. But I'm like talking to all of my neighbors. I'm trying my best to like keep this up here. But at the end of the day, it's like.
And you're in communication with them too, like that? That's great.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
We all chat and they see who's coming to the open house and whatnot.
Good.
So I'm the one hosting my own open houses. You know what I mean? So
you're working it.
Yeah. Hopefully, but I'm in the shoes of sellers right now. So you just kind of have to. Again, it's the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So as the market's shifting, like with all of our new sellers coming up, like just really trying to set those expectations that it's not the same market.
Yeah, and summer months are coming, right? Once wedding season starts, once 4th of July hits.
I had 2 weddings in June. Back to back.
Yeah, my wedding anniversary is June 19th.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. So like it's wedding season, and then it's 4th of July hits, and then vacation,
spring break, and Mother's Day, and Easter. It was just like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely played a role in I think the lack of attendance at open houses. But like. The market was hot January, February, March. It was really hot, and sellers saw that. But luckily, at least the people that we're speaking to, they have seen the shift.
Last thing. So part of the reason I think the market was more supportive back then is interest rates were a little lower. The market
they were kind of going to like 6 you get like 6.3, maybe 6.4.
Yeah, we had the 10-year dip down below 4%. Like it hit down to like 3.9. So interest rates matter. Now, one thing I would want to just close with maybe is a reminder to sellers, you can, obviously pricing correctly, but if the inventory continues to grow like this because interest rates stay at that 7% level, you can offer buy downs. Mm-hmm. Now, that never used to be a thing for the last 5 years, right? Because why would a seller offer a buy down or anything like that when they don't have to? Multiple offers, bidding up the price. Well, if inventory continues to rise like this, sellers, you know what builders do?
Yeah,
how do builders move their inventory?
Oh, they
buy down that rate.
They buy down
like
rates,
crazy.
Closing costs,
right?
everything.
We're talking.
I got my new build. I mean, all closing costs plus they're offering 3% commission to the buy agent. At some point, they were offering like 4% to a buyer's agent.
You have to sweeten it. You do.
all the appliances, etc.
There's no reason.
So there's a lot of new builds going around in Huntington Beach too.
That's
so
true.
It's really the townhome market's going to get hit as I'm selling my townhome. There's a ton of new townhomes going up.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, so be aggressive. Price reduction for sure, or I should say price it right up front for sure. Higher right, okay? But consider incentivizing with interest rate buy downs. There's temporary buy downs, there's permanent buy downs. Builders do this, and the only reason builders have sustained themselves in the last few years with this higher interest rate environment is because they're smart. They're business people, okay?
Yeah.
They're not emotional attached sellers in resale.
Yeah.
They are business people. They're trying to move inventory. They know what works, and what are they doing? They're buying down interest rates, and they're offering those incentives. There's no reason you guys can't do the same thing. And I'm telling you, if we see that 4,000 or 5,000 inventory number in Orange County jump to 6,000 or 7,000 homes, you're going to be doing it. All right. So just get ahead of that. Talk to Chrissy about it. Talk to me about it. That's the one thing I would put out there as a lender.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I mean, I think right now is a very sweet spot to sell and to buy. Right before that, right before competition gets too big for the sellers.
Get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it. Just get ahead of it.
Don't be in reaction
I know
mode.
it sounds like we're always saying now's the right time, but that was really the right time.
Yeah, especially if you actually do need to sell.
Yeah, if you do need to sell, and I mean, if you can buy right now, I would buy right now.
Yeah.
Like, because you do have more choices, you do have that negotiating power, and prices are kind of, I would say they're not coming down so much; they're stabilizing.
They're stabilizing, and you just have more leverage. And again, market's not crashing, guys. Sorry.
No.
Maybe in markets that are overbuilt, like Austin, Texas, is the poster child right now, and parts of Idaho and Florida. This is Orange County. This is coastal Orange County. It's not going to be doing what other places in the country are doing. So just realize, yes, inventory is growing, but it's not growing in a way that it's like becoming a correcting market. So talk to experts. Don't follow goofy mainstream media sources that are fanning the flames of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Talk to
TikTok.
Diane and Chrissy. TikTok, oh my gosh.
I mean, one video you're going to get like someone that's totally supportive of like kind of in line of what we're saying, and then in the next video it's like someone completely fighting everything we just said.
Real estate's local, right?
Yeah. And TikTok, you're not listening to like local people.
No.
So our market is different than LA, is different than San Diego.
Totally.
So, you have to really just work with who knows their market.
Yeah. And Diane and Chrissy know what they're doing. Highly recommend. I really enjoy our time
Jason.
together.
Yeah,
I really
thank you,
do.
Jason.
Yeah, for sure.
Us as well. So Diane will be on next time.
Yeah, we'll bring Diane back next time. Is there any parting words outside of what we're
No, I mean, I think we definitely said a lot today, and really good messages, and we love being here with Jason and just kind of bringing the the clarity to the market to you guys and cutting out all the noise of the media and providing the real raw information of what's going on.
Our next podcast is going to be in the new studio. I'm
we're
very excited.
So excited. We're leveling up over here. I mean, I like this setup. But
it is a good setup.
Going next level.
We're going wow. Okay, so we'll see you next time. If you found value in today's interview, like and subscribe. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.